Hey Eagles fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into the Eagles Report, and today, let's take a look at the players the Eagles could actually trade up for if they were to move up in the NFL draft. We all think the Eagles might potentially want to go ahead and get a wide receiver, but if they move up, could they take somebody else? I'll explain who those names are. Before we start, thumbs up, you think the Eagles should pack us some picks, move up in the draft, and get a star player, and also click the notification bell down below, because a lot of you guys are subscribed, but you don't click the notification bell the way you aren't notified whenever we go ahead and drop new videos here. We do stuff almost every day of the week. We're going to do a live video on Wednesday night, so stay tuned for information on that one. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and give you guys some names that I think the Eagles could trade up for. If they do trade up, who would they go ahead and get? Let me preface this. I understand these are some big names. I understand the odds of them being there at the appropriate point to go ahead and trade up in the first round are going to be hard to do. But if they were to fall, if they were to be there, I think these are the names the Eagles could go ahead and take a look at. So I don't want anyone commenting down below, well, that's impossible, he's not going to be there. Nothing is impossible whenever you have 10 draft picks, and this year's NFL draft, they have a lot of leeway to go ahead and make some moves. The first player that I really think is going to be an option for Philadelphia to trade up for, if he were to slip in the top first 10 picks, would be Isaiah Simmons, the outside linebacker out of Clemson. I mean, this is a prototypical linebacker in the National Football League. How about a 4.37 40? How about that? At the NFL Combine. I mean, it was unbelievable how fast this guy was at the NFL Combine. A 4.37 is one of the fastest linebacker times we've seen in a very, very long time. And yet, at the same time, he has the size, 6'3", 230, to be a 3-down linebacker, 4-down linebacker in the National Football League. He was great at Clemson. People said he was going to be a top 20 pick at the very beginning of this season, and then he's kind of hopped into being a top 5, a top 10 pick. Here's the deal. And this goes for other players we're going to talk about who are high first-round draft picks. If you see a run on quarterbacks early, like you see Burrow, then Tua, then Herbert, then Jordan Love, then you start having guys like Isaiah Simmons go ahead and start falling back a little bit in the draft. And the Eagles sitting at 21 have a much more real chance of going from, let's say, 21 to 8 than they would going from like 21 to 3. So again, it's not a very big fall. But for a guy who was absolutely fantastic last year, 104 tackles, 7 sacks, 3 interceptions, 8 passes broken up, he'd be worth it for an Eagles linebacker core that has not had a star play linebacker in a very long time. The best linebacker the Eagles have had in a long time was Nigel Bradham, and they let him go because he cost too much and was just not staying healthy. They had Michael Kendricks, who was a great outside linebacker, but it is kind of, butted heads in terms of a long-term contract extension. I think trading up for Isaiah Simmons, if they were to move up, could be a very real possibility if he were to slip in the draft as we get closer and closer to the actual NFL draft. I'm going to go ahead and stay at linebacker before we get into the other real possibilities. I would not be surprised if we traded up for Kenneth Murray, the inside linebacker out of Oklahoma. Now, you hear Oklahoma, you hear 6'2". He's a little bit bigger in terms of overall girth, I guess you could say, weight than Isaiah Simmons, but a little slower too. Ran like a 3.5, I think a 3.54 at the NFL Combine. Sorry, a 4.54, not a 3.54. I might have said Isaiah Simmons ran a 3.57. I meant a 4.57 is what or a 4.37. Simmons ran a 4.37, and then of course Kenneth Murray ran a 4.57. So there we go, got it all figured out. I know these comments are all going to come. Whenever I say one thing slightly wrong, you guys go crazy in the comments section, but I do believe that Kenneth Murray, another linebacker, could be an option for Philadelphia to move up in the draft. Now, would not have to move up as far. Let's say you move it from 21 to like 17 or 21 to 15 with Denver and go ahead and get a linebacker. We would all want a wide receiver, and we'll talk about wide receivers, but I think this is a very real possibility for our Eagles because they need, let's be honest, they need linebacker help. And if they go ahead and spend crazy on cornerback and crazy on wide receiver in free agency, then maybe you go to a draft that has really 2 really good linebackers in Simmons or Murray, and then focus on, other things later on in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round. Maybe get another wide receiver like a Jalen Reagor or Denzel Mims in the 2nd round. So 2 linebackers first are the 2 that I think the Eagles could go ahead and move up for. How about going to wide receiver? Now, we talk wide receiver all the time here on the Eagles Report, and we're all convinced that the Eagles need to trade up to go ahead and get somebody, and I'm convinced as well. The question is, if you're trading up, which ones are you actually going to go ahead and trade up for? And I got some thoughts on that in terms of who I would not trade up for and who I would. I would trade up for Jerry Jeudy. I would trade up for CeeDee Lamb. That's it. That's literally it. I would not trade up for any other wide receivers in this draft, and that includes a Henry Ruggs. Now, Ruggs is most likely, a lot of mocks going to have Ruggs going number 21 to us, but I would argue, I'll be surprised if Ruggs makes it past Denver at 15, and then back around to Oakland at 18 or 19 if Oakland does not take Jerry Jeudy at number 11. So I really think that Ruggs won't be there at 21, but I would not trade up to go ahead and get him. I love the idea of Henry Ruggs, but I'm not sure the actual blueprint of Henry Ruggs has worked in the NFL in a very long time. This is not Mecole Hardman. This is not Tyreek Hill. Like, this is more John Ross, who did not work out with the Cincinnati Bengals. Just look where he's playing right now. I don't believe he's with Cincinnati. I mean, like, young receivers who have decent size, 6'2", 6'3", and run a 4.2 whatever, don't necessarily pan out to be successful in the National Football League. Speed kills, yes, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed attribute that star wide receivers have. If I was Philadelphia, and I was going to stay put at 21, and Ruggs fell to 21, sure, you can go ahead and take him, but I would not move up to go ahead and get him. I would move up for Jerry Jeudy, and I would 100% move up for CeeDee Lamb. Those are the two surefire wide receivers in this draft. Everybody else sounds really good and will be really good, but they're not worth trading up for. I think if you sat at 21, you have your pick of Rager, you have your pick of Laviska Shenault, who's going to fall because of the core muscle injury, have your pick of maybe a Denzel Mims. Obviously, he could go in the second round, so I would only go ahead and trade up for someone like a Jerry Jeudy and like a CeeDee Lamb if and only if they were the ones the Eagles are very, very high on. Because if not, you stay at 21, you take the best player available, whether that is a Kenneth Murray if he falls, whether that is a Grant Delpit, whether that is a Henry Ruggs. It's just a lot of interesting moves the Eagles could make, but I don't want people to think we're going to trade up to go ahead and get somebody that's not worth trading up for, because the stats show trading back or staying put in the NFL draft tends to have a lot more success than going ahead and trading up, because you give away so much draft capital to go ahead and do so. The final player that I think we need to talk about trading up for, which again, I just said, trading up doesn't necessarily work. It would work for Murray. It would work, obviously, for Isaiah Simmons. And I think it would work for Chase Young. Now, I know, right? Chase Young's not going to be there. I can see the comments. Chase Young is not going to be there. You know what? You're trading up to number 2 to get him. Here's my thought process, and this goes for Isaiah Simmons. I very much believe quarterback is going to be extremely, extremely heavy and sought after early on in the draft, which means you could have Burrow 1, you could have someone trade up for the Redskins to get 2 at 2, or the Redskins take 2 at 2, which would be a nightmare for us here in Philadelphia. Then I think you're going to have Justin Herbert or Jordan Love go 3, and then Herbert or Jordan Love go 5 or 6. I think you're going to see 4 quarterbacks in the first 7 picks. Now, if that happens, Isaiah Simmons, obviously we already talked about him, and Chase Young start to slide. If Chase Young gets past number 5, because that's very hard to trade into the top 5. If Chase Young were to slide past number 5, suddenly he's there at 6, at 7, at 8. If you're Philadelphia, you could take a future first-round draft pick, a second-round draft pick this year, a future second. Like, you have to give up a lot. But if you went and got Chase Young, the best pass rusher we've seen come out of the draft in a very long time, besides like Nick Bosa last year, that would make the Eagles instantly better, because defensive line is something that you're probably going to lose Tim Jernigan in free agency. Brandon Graham's getting older. Derek Barnett hasn't really stepped up. Fletcher Cox is getting older as well. You're expecting Malik Jackson to come in and really fill in at the defensive tackle spot, because you're probably going to lose Hassan Ridgeway. So, with that being said, get another pass rusher to mix in here, and don't just get any pass rusher. You get the best one in this draft. Again, save it for last, because I think a lot of you guys are going to be upset about this, but if he were to fall a little bit, I would not be surprised if we trade up for a guy like Chase Young. So, there you go. So, when we finish up this video, and again, I just want to kind of give you guys some ideas to think about here on a Monday in terms of trading up in the draft. Will we trade up in the draft? I don't know, but it's important who we trade up for. I would not trade up for anybody not named Isaiah Simmons. Kenneth Murray, again, a small jump for Kenneth Murray, not going up to number 10 to go ahead and get him. I would do it for Chase Young, I'd do it for Jerry Jeudy, and I would do it for CeeDee Lamb. But that is basically it in terms of who I would trade up for with the Philadelphia Eagles in this year's draft. All the time we have for today. I'm very, very curious what you guys think in the comments section down below. Who would you trade up for to get? Is it just a wide receiver? Is there somebody else? Did I convince you about Isaiah Simmons? Did I convince you about Kenneth Murray? Let me know in the comments section down below, and also subscribe right now as we're approaching 6,000 subs here on the fastest growing Eagles Report on fastest growing Eagles channel on YouTube. It's called the Eagles Report. Hopefully you guys enjoy this channel. I'm trying to build it for you guys. That way you have your one-stop shop for everything Eagles in terms of the latest news and rumors and trade stuff and everything that happens with the Philadelphia Eagles throughout the course of a year. Final note though, and this is important. Subscribe. That way you're notified when we go live on Wednesday night. We're going to do a live Q&A. We had about 110 people join us for our first ever live Q&A. I want to try and double that, so we're going to push the time back to 8 p.m. on Wednesday Eastern time. So 7 Central and then 6 on the West Coast. I believe that's how it works, right? 8 p.m. Eastern time is when we're going to do it. Come and join us. We're going to talk about the draft, talk about free agency. I want to answer your guys' questions in about a 30 to 45 minute live video. Again, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. is when we're going to go ahead and do that. There you go. All time we have for today. For the Eagles Report, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day. Did you like that video? Thanks for watching, but why don't you click this video right here, because we did it just a couple of days ago, and guess what? It's about the Eagles too. Like that video? Why don't you subscribe right down here? That way you're notified whenever we release more videos here on the Eagles Report. It's the fastest growing Eagles channel here on YouTube. Video, subscribe, click them right now. Go ahead, click them.